Saludos y felicidades to the UNLV class of 2024. I'm humbled to stand before you, interconnected in our perseverance and success. Whether we're surrounded by the unwavering support of our loved ones or standing strong in our independence, one thing remains clear: how we choose to show up in the world for ourselves and one another makes a difference. As an Indigenous Latina and first-generation college student, I, like many of you, proudly embody the resilience of the ancestors and elders whose sacrifices and courage became the pedestals that emboldened us to dare thrive in spaces that have historically been withheld from our communities. Despite the poetic justice we feel from breaking the confines of oppressive forces, many of us will still have to face the firsthand challenges of navigating a society that seeks to diminish our worth and marginalize our communities. Even in my diversity, I must recognize that I have also unintentionally benefited from systems that discriminate against skin color, country of origin, race, religion, and gender. I'd be remiss to ignore the privilege I hold and its role in bringing me before you today. But recognition of this privilege within oppressive systems does not condone or celebrate it, nor does it negate hard work, sacrifices, or personal merit. It does, however, acknowledge the histories that have either catalyzed our successes or imposed generational hurdles, honoring how far some of us can make it, even with so much stacked against us. At UNLV, one of the most diverse universities in the nation, I've come to learn the power of higher education and the role it can play in redirecting our trajectories. More than ever, I recognize the dreams that empowered the courage of Black, Indigenous people of color who refused to be defined by their oppression. Although many of our ancestors were denied the chance to see the fruits that would flourish from their seeds, this did not stop them from fighting injustice or building upon their dreams of liberation, not just for themselves, but for the promise of what we could become. And here we are, free to discover our potential. But the path to freedom did not come with any maps or directions. Frankly, freedom is not a destination we can easily navigate to. The idea of a right to freedom was created as a means to determine who could be denied that right. Freedom has always been defined as being subject to the oppressor. And this notion of freedom, as we've been taught, is monetized, manipulated, and leveraged against us. So I remind you that we are not here today because of those who legislated our right to freedom. Instead, we are here thanks to those who knew freedom was an inherent right endowed only by the Creator, knowing that we are born free. We owe this moment to those who defied their constraints to construct our path to liberation, entrusted with the ancestral responsibility to pull others up as we climb. While we honor the histories we carry and the significance of being in this moment, embraced in this feeling, owning the power of this accomplishment, standing as proof of the potential of our ancestors, we mustn't forget that we are here representing generations of power becoming unbound. We are here because those before us resisted their oppression. We were not just given this institution or this moment. It was demanded for us in defiance of what the oppressors sought to confine as our destiny. And it's up to us to take this gift and honor it with the seeds of our demands and the promise that they will bear the fruits of liberation for others. Reflect on the precious moments you've experienced in this university and ask yourself, if we had been born in a different time, on a different land, experiencing the colonization, occupation, and apartheid regimes survived by those before us, or even if we had been born today, but in parts of the world where the sins of our history repeat themselves through enslavement, ethnic cleansing, and genocide, if we faced the realities of the Congolese, Sudanese, and Palestinians, would we have the courage to resist our oppression? Would we risk everything to demand liberation for the generations that come after us, even if it would never benefit us? How would we respond to the global dehumanization of our people? Would we offer help to others, not simply for us and ours, but for all of those who mirror our ancestral suffering and reflect back our own hope of realizing inherent freedom? Now, before you think about answering this question, I'll pause to give you the answer because let's face it, we've just spent an entire college career answering questions and you all deserve a break. Plus, the answer is simple because it is unfolding as I speak. At college campuses nationwide and across the world, we are witnessing the ancestral promise running through the veins of college students as they peacefully place their bodies on the line, being subjected to propagandistic slander, militant violence, and threats of losing everything. They face the same police violence and institutional threats that Black and brown communities have been subjected to and warning us about across the nation for generations that dominant society has ignored. And still, students like Asna Tabassum and recent grads like Fatima Mohammed are running to the front of the occupation, fearlessly using their education as a platform to denounce injustice at Hinds Hall, across the college specter, only to be bullied by media, legislators, and even their own universities, simply for opposing war crimes and having the audacity to engage in their First Amendment right, to demand an end to U.S. tax dollars arming an occupying state and disclosure of their university's investments and divestment from apartheid and weapons and funding of an ongoing genocide. This is how our generation responds. The way we confront the parallels of being a college student in the United States during the same moment in history that our government contributes to the violent erasure and targeted demolition of everything in Palestine, including every university, will serve as our generation's moral litmus test. This generation's embodiment of revolutionary justice defies the expectation that we could be easily divided and conquered, or that we would accept propaganda aimed at pitting our communities against each other. Even in spite of structural assaults in our community, like migrant detainment camps, cop cities, political divisiveness, threats of extremist violence, doxing, harassment, and generational trauma, we, the descendants of the liberated, have forged a unified power within institutions like this one, with unrelenting confidence, because our cause is centered on an ancestral love. We hold up the same generational mirror that confronts the oppressor with the reality of their hate, a reflection for all to bear witness to. Our generation aims to dismantle internal biases, to take responsibility for the sins of humanity, and reclaim the ancestral voices that speak truth to power. We emerge as a collective force to be reckoned with. We prove that representation does matter, not simply because we need to feel validated as people, but because we learn from one another, recognizing our interconnectedness, reclaiming our authentic representation, and rejecting tokenism. Because representation without a commitment to liberation is nothing more than a commodity. Together, we learn to differentiate between who we are and who we've been told to be, and to distinguish between identifying ourselves as victims or emerging as survivors. The power of your diverse representation has empowered me to stand here today and thank you for allowing the ancestors in me to recognize the ancestors in you. As new university graduates, we carry the responsibility to go beyond just learning about where, why, and how we can make a difference. We graduate with the responsibility to be accountable for our moral convictions and take action or face the consequences of complicity, allowing silence subject to the manipulation of others to define you. We stand at the precipice of a once-in-a-generation opportunity to mobilize in ways that redefine power dynamics and determine whether we leave this world better than we found it. It is up to us to determine whether history will remember our moral failures or build upon our revolutionary courage. Today, we do more than just graduate from the best university in the state of Nevada. We prove that we will overcome, que sí se puede, and that we are the revolution. It's been a privilege sharing this moment with you, honoring the journey as we all become our ancestors' wildest dreams. Felicidades, congratulations, class of 2024, go Rebels.